Hi and welcome. My name is Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Me. In this video, we're going to look at how to insert a table and then look a little bit at the Contextual tab of the Format tab under the Table Tools within Microsoft Excel. So if you're interested in either of these concepts, go ahead and join us in this video. Okay, so in our last video, we looked at the idea of a table and range. We discussed kind of some of the minor differences or perhaps major differences between a table and range. In this video, we want to look at how to insert a table. If you want to follow along, just to check in, make sure that you have the file 07.02 open. That's the exercise file we'll be using in this video. So here, let's go to the second tab, which is called Employee Reference Sheet. And in an Employee Reference Sheet, if we wanted to turn this individual range here into a table, we could. We could do that by selecting our active cell and putting it somewhere in that range, and then we have a couple choices. We can go to Insert Data and go to Table. That would generate this pop-up dialog box, which is Create Table. It's going to indicate a range. We could always go verify that range. Looks like it's correct, so we click this and say OK. In our case, the table does indeed have headers. So that's kind of a benefit. So we would hit OK, and it would then format a table. We might want to select all of our text and then double click so that our filters don't overlap with the actual labels. The second way to create a table would be to come up to your Home tab, and then you would go to Format as a Table, and then you could pick your individual style. So maybe we like this medium style. Maybe we'll do a dark blue here. Again, you would be presented with this Format as a Table dialog box, and you could check to make sure that it's correct. Looks like it's the right range. And our table has headers. So we'll hit OK, and it would be formatted in that way. The third way that we can go ahead and insert a table is to press and hold the Control key and then add the T key. So pressing Control T will use the keyboard shortcut to create a table. You would again have the same dialog box with the same set of choices. We hit OK, and it creates a table. Now, once we have a table that's been created, it would automatically jump into the Design tab here on the Table Tools. If we click outside of the table, that Design tab will disappear. So that Design tab, the Table Tool tab, is contextually dependent on where our active cell is. If our active cell is out of the table, we won't have that tab. Or if we click somewhere in the table, that Design tab will come up. So we wanted to look at the different items here for the tables. And let's start here with the idea of the header row. So let's start here with the idea of the header row. If we turn the header row off, it will essentially remove those labels. And in this case, it makes sense to keep that. If we have the total row, we would essentially have a total for these individual columns. We could even have a total for, say, the total salary. We could come here and we could say, find maybe the sum of the total salary. We'd have to adjust the size, but that too would work. So you may or may not want a total row. Banded rows is essentially the alternating colors of, between this case, blue and white. If we turn off banded rows, the rows will all be the same color. You then might, instead of choosing banded rows, choose banded columns, which would be alternating colors between columns. Generally, you don't want to have both. If you have both, it's kind of this mismatched pattern. And I personally would tend to stick with banded rows. Then we can have some difference with the first column. So in this case, it would change our first column to be bold or take it off, so bold or not bold. We could have last column be bold or not bold. This would depend on your data. If you're creating a table from something with like a sum or total column, maybe you'd want your last column to be different. Lastly, as we talked about in the last video, you can turn the filter on or off. In the next video, we'll talk about table styles, but say that we have a table here and we wanted to change it back to a range. If we wanted to do that, we could go ahead and come here to the design tab and then go to tools. We would go to convert to range. If we could try to convert it to range, we'd be prompted asking us whether or not we want to convert it to a normal range. We'll hit yes, and then you'll notice that once we click in this area, the area that used to be a table is now range, and we don't have that design tab. However, the formatting is the same as it was before. So if you wanted to change the formatting, you would go ahead and select that. And as we'll discuss in the last video, you might do something like no fill and then black text. But there are alternate ways to kind of change the formatting back to what it was before. So the last thing that we'll kind of look at here is, as we discussed, coming here, double clicking, we'll go to the design tab and you can rename the table. So we could call this table A or table version 2. Generally, you can't have spaces for names or these individual things, so often you'll use underscores. Then when you have a table, you can also easily remove duplicates. So this is something that we looked at by going to data and then remove duplicates. But when something's formatted as a table, you can essentially go to remove duplicates, and you'll notice that we have multiple entries of Kate Walker. And these are the same entry points for each individual item. We could go to remove duplicates and have the same dialog box, hit OK, and it would remove those duplicates. So that, in summary, is how you would insert a table, as well as understand some of the individual style options, which we'll discuss in more detail in the next video. And then lastly, we looked at how to convert a table back to a range. If you wanted to do that, you would go to the design tab and then the tools group, go to convert to range, hit OK, and then although the table would generally keep the formatting that you had when that was a table, this is now a range, and all of the individual kind of specialties of a table are no longer applicable to this set of cells. So with that, in our next video, we're going to look at modifying a table in terms of formatting and design. So join us for that in the next video, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.